Perfect. So Apur, what we can do is we'll just keep chatting as such, and meanwhile, audience, there are a couple of people online who have joined the call through YouTube Live. So if you guys anyone has any questions that I should ask Apur, please feel free to put a chat, and I'll surely take that question with Apur and try to get those answers clarified. So let's get started right away, and then see how things happen. So as I told Apur like earlier, that this is more of a casual chat. So feel free to be very casual and give us the answer. So the whole idea is to help people like us who have taken this hard journey and make them understand what is crowdfunding, which is like a known thing, but yet a lot of people don't understand its operationalization, and the efforts that is required to have a successful crowdfund. And then again, there are keywords after it. So since you have gone through everything, you are the best person who could actually tell us. So guys, just for a quick introduction, Apur is one of my close friends. I guess we have one common year at IIC. Otherwise, we've known each other since 2016, and he's a founder and CEO of Lazy Co. His startup name is really amazing, and that was my first discussion when we actually met. When I actually met Apur in 2016. So Apur, welcome on board. I would like you to kind of just give a gist to our audience about what you do, how you do, and why did you start all these things before we get into our topic.
Sure. Pleasure to be here, Siddharth. Thank you for inviting me. I hope this is a useful session. Anyway, so starting off with why we started LazyCo is because we are a team of say techies turned product designers, love hardware products, love tangible things, love things which we can actually touch, and take our focus away from the phone touchscreens or inside the phone, wherein all the innovation in the world is happening anyways. So we started off this company trying to find the easiest, the fastest ways to get things done, or trying to find the easiest or the most efficient solution to day-to-day physical world problems. And we basically call these more efficient ways to solve problems as the lazier ways to get things done. And that's what we design as a company, the laziest ways to get things done. That's why the company is called LazyCo. And we've been active for the past 4 years now. 2017 we started right after my master's at IIC, and been at this product Aina Ring for quite some time. Took a supremely complex electronic product to start with. Of course, we learned along the way how difficult it is to actually build a device like this. And of course, the journey in the ecosystem is a separate part, has a separate role to play in the business growth. So that's basically us. We've been doing well. We've raised funds from different government grants, from Qualcomm. We were a part of Qualcomm's accelerator. We've been featured on TechCrunch, BBC, been awarded for various aspects of the product, plus other products which we've developed as a team. So been doing well. And the crowdfunding capital we launched in 2019, which of course I'm going to talk about further. But that's basically our journey so far.
It's very interesting, Apur. Very interesting journey so far. But yeah, just before we again get into crowdfund further to understand, why did you first choose a method of crowdfunding for your startup? Because it was unheard or it was not really popular, at least back in 2019.
So I'd say it was still popular amongst people who are into hardware. I mean, you already knew about it, right? But the startup ecosystem in India is still not very aware of it, because a lot of investors, to our surprise, who we met, were surprised saying people actually paid for a device which is not already out in the market, right? Because that is the kind of sentiment we have in India, right? Crowdfunding platforms are not being significantly doing well in India. It's more of a Western concept where the earning capacity is more and the paying capacity is higher as well, and the will to experiment is also higher. So that cultural difference is here, which of course is going to change along the way. And considering being a hardware startup out of say 95% companies in India or startups in India which are building an app or a platform or a service which do not really require custom tooling and other things or initial investment to be made into to build a product. The problem is there is no other way apart from crowdfunding to prove that there is a demand of your product in the market. unless of course you need to do the same pre-order website through your own website or things like that. But it's more or less a similar structure. Now the thing is, we have to compete with, because product development cycle from an app, if you compare with an app perspective to a hardware perspective, is the same, right? The investor would judge you on the same rules, set of rules, right? They would consider that, okay, if you've got 5,000 downloads in 1 month, how much sales have you made for a hardware product, or how much interest have you gotten generated? And those email subscriptions and other things don't really work. They want a proper commitment from a customer, right? So these platforms, like crowdfunding platform, allow us or hardware companies to compete with such apps, because these are the criteria on which the investors would take a decision, and not on the uniqueness or the, say, extreme coolness, or say, vast applicability of the product.
Interesting take, Apur. So now, of course, there are a couple of questions like Vijay has asked, what is the typical procedure for crowdfunding? I'm sure we'll be answering that question in a while. But before we get into the procedure of crowdfunding, would you like to, tell people, especially in India, what is crowdfunding, and why do you think it is not that popular in India yet? Whereas Westerners, they have been using it for almost a decade now, if not more.
Right. So, of course, this is my personal perspective, but I feel the paying capacity, again, one is a very big role to play, has a big role to play. Innovations typically in the hardware space have come out of US predominantly, and US happens to be the biggest market for crowdfunding campaigns all over the world. All over the world, even if you consider all Western countries, developed countries like Japan and China as well, crowdfunding happens to be most popular in US. Even though China is also catching up, we've seen Xiaomi doing such crowdfunding models for their own products now in China. So it's getting popular, but mostly in places where innovation in hardware has been very predominant. And of course, it's a support system which grows parallelly along with the startups, along with investors and everything. Here in India, first is that cultural differences there. We still, possibly don't trust a lot of companies which are, trying to show off great products. We would like to wait till the end moment, right? To actually, we don't really want to bet on such products, even if we really want to use them. And then of course, how much am I willing to pay for something like that? If you talk about the paying capacity in the US, say $100 is something which I can still probably experiment with. And that's because of only the numbers, the currency exchange rate or whatever, right? Which is around 7,500 here, right? Which is good enough. But when I'm talking about India, I'll possibly talk about 1,000 to 2,000 rupees maximum. I can take a bet on any product and, sort of park my money for the next 2 years or 1.5 years to get the product development started. So that difference itself creates a huge, difference in the way people perceive products and the way people are able to create products. So that cultural difference is there, and multiple other things. Reaching out to people here has been tough. There have been some crowdfunding platforms. They eventually chose to take a path of, turning into an NGO wherein they are raising capital for social causes. We've seen Keto as an example. And I'm sure, these guys have a better idea of how things have evolved in India. I'm sure people are getting more receptive about crowdfunding now, because the younger generation is increasing, and the millennials are super excited by tech products, hardware products particularly. So I'm sure this will grow, but it's still not the right time for India for crowdfunding.
Right. Apurga, we lost you. Yeah.
Back.
Back. Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
I guess it was your product that was in your hand, Anna. Is it?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. You can show it to people like how it works, right? So it's a cool thing actually.
It's still under development. We're actually wearing a mock-up. It's still not waterproof yet, so I don't really use it on a very regular basis. That's still under development, ongoing.
Got it. Good, great. So, Apur, like as you rightly said, like there are some issues like how much money Indians can park for at least a year and a half before they go about it, which is very fair as such. But then, there are a couple of type of crowdfunding, right? So can you just give an idea, if you have any key, what all type of crowdfundings can be actually, what all kind of projects can be actually crowdfunded, and what are the operational types? Like one is, as you said, you can sell your product as a pre-order, or there are other types as well. So can you just shed a light about how that would work, and is it a good idea to do
Sure.
it?
Right. You asked about crowdfunding, what it is exactly, right? So, the crowdfunding platforms are basically a website wherein people would can make a video of what they wanting to build. Typically, a hardware device, because it's easy to imagine what it does, and they price the product saying that we want to raise funds, or we want you to pre-order the device. Pre-order means that we'll take your money upfront as we sort of reach a certain goal. For example, we want 1 lakh rupees to be collected as an advance payment to start our production process, to start delivering these products. And we are asking.
We are losing you for a second. Something happened.
Yeah. Considering that customers are willing to pay that sort of an amount, we ask customers to pay that, and we will use that money to start the production process and deliver the product within a specified timeline. So that's how basic pre-order based crowdfunding campaign works. There is another mode of crowdfunding wherein equity stake of the company is also given, which is not really legal in India yet, but US is still, there are platforms that are active around that as well. That way, you become an investor in the company and you get some shares. But we're not going to talk about that today. We are going to stick to pre-order based crowdfunding campaign. And so that's how basically crowdfunding works. We collect all the money and we start production process. Possibly to also, that also helps in creating investor interest, not just production, but raising further capital from an investor, saying that we have so many people interested in the product.
Got it. I guess that part will come up a little later, like why we do crowdfunding. But before that, can you just shed lights on what are the different platforms of crowdfunding, and how do you select the right platform? And how do you target the geographies, etc., so that people can have a plan in place before they actually decide to go and get a campaign running.
Okay, so there are two major platforms, both based in the US, Indiegogo and Kickstarter, right? For both these, of course, I'll get into the operational issues later, because being in India, you have to do a lot of different things to get a crowdfunding campaign up and running there. But these are the two major platforms which have the most number of people as backers, or people who are ordering devices on such platforms. Based on what product you are building, you will have to research on these platforms whether typically what products work for what platform, because based on, different set of customers are more likely to be on different set of platforms. So that you'll have to search, which category your product is in, and you'll probably find that Indiegogo is better for me or a Kickstarter is better for me. Similarly, we've seen, so statistically, Kickstarter has a lot more people onboarded as project backers as compared to Indiegogo. And typically, companies would go to Kickstarter first and then go to Indiegogo with the same campaign, and the amount they raise on Kickstarter is continued on Indiegogo. And Indiegogo sales keep going. Kickstarter has a limited period of time in which you can do a crowdfunding campaign, say 1 month, 2 months, or some maximum limit. But on Indiegogo, it's like once you start, you can have that, say unended. It keeps going till you want it to be. And of course, they take a cut of, whatever orders you get.
Right. So, do we also select this platform based on geographies? Because I believe Kickstarter has a limited geography, whereas Indiegogo is about more. And what do you think about it when we look at the reach part of it?
It again depends on the product. See, if your product, and of course, what country you are targeting, right? You actually can look at all these projects details. For example, you find out one product which is similar to yours or is in the same category as yours on Indiegogo or Kickstarter. You can actually find out how many people who have backed this project are from India, are from say Delhi, it actually goes to that sort of an extent, the details and analytics of those platforms. So you can find out which platform is probably better for me, and there might be a possibility that India is not really participating in that crowdfunding campaign at all. Say just 1% of people are actually backing from India. So that could be a concern if you're targeting an India-only product, because only a few people are there on Kickstarter and Indiegogo from India. So geography-wise, you actually have to do a lot more work than anything else.
Got it.
But even if you don't do that, I think the first part of the question gets answered, wherein you are able to convert sales of the say target customers in another country,
Right.
because pre-orders is what you exactly want, right?
Right. And there is also one exciting thing. There is fees involved both in Kickstarter and Indiegogo. So any idea how do we select that?
Fees, I think, is more or less the same.
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to be a concern.
Okay,
I think
but if I
for
am
that limited time period, it's the same.
But if I'm right, there is also one more thing, no? Like if Kickstarter, if it's like all or none, if you raise your target, then you get everything. If you don't achieve the target, you don't get. Whereas Indiegogo has a flexible funding and things like that, right? So those are also some options that people have to set their targets also very carefully, right? Based on that. So your thoughts on that?
Yes. So Kickstarter has a fixed fee platform, wherein based on what country you're from, based on where your bank account is, you are going to get charged on one fixed fee of Kickstarter plus some percentage of the payment processing fees. That depends on your country and bank. Similar things happen with Indiegogo, but Indiegogo has a more flexible sort of an option that one is that you can, of course, as I earlier mentioned, that the campaign can go forever. Second is you don't have an upper limit. You have an option of not putting an upper limit to the kind of money you are wanting to raise, or sorry, lower limit, right? That I want to say raise $30,000, and only after that I'll be able to get that amount. So that is slightly risky for the backer who is backing the project, but for the client, project creator is always good. So Indiegogo is actually much more flexible at doing things. The customizations and the team is quite helpful. I wouldn't say Kickstarter is as say responsive as Indiegogo.
Okay, but then I thought you ran your campaign in Kickstarter and not Indiegogo, or did you do both?
We did on Kickstarter.
Oh, you did only in Kickstarter and not Indiegogo.
Yeah.
Any reason why you selected only Kickstarter? Because there are a lot more clients, backers.
Multiple things. So see, once you do a crowdfunding campaign on one platform, you are not supposed to do another crowdfunding campaign on that platform for the same product.
Okay.
Right? And what we figured is, see, crowdfunding campaigns have a lot of things to get prepared for before you launch the campaign, right? And we think that at the time when we were raising funds for our product on Aina Ring on crowdfunding on this Kickstarter.com, we were not very well prepared with the marketing aspect of it. And we did not have a lot of funds raised for marketing as well, because we were running on grants and other things at the time, and we did not, were not allowed grants. So there was a limited scale to which we could reach on Kickstarter, because after a point of time, once you reach the customer, once your marketing is figured that these are the customers who are getting converted, you basically have to push in those funds to target similar customers, right? And that's how the marketing campaign would work. And you can scale from say 10,000 to 40,000 to 100,000 based on that. So we had a limited marketing budget at a time. That is why we did not choose to go on it Indiegogo right then, because we wanted to save, ourselves from if for example, if our crowdfunding campaign did not work at that time, we would not want to leave an opportunity to be on another crowdfunding platform with the right preparation. So that's why we chose not to go on Indiegogo at that time. But we still have plans to go there once the product is, say, completely ready and ready to ship, so that it's also a lesser risk for the consumers and
Got it.
make the campaign viral. Yeah.
Interesting. So, so now there are two important questions from the audience, and again, this is something we should also be talking. So one is If we can look at two aspects to this question. One is, what are the preparations that you need to do before you actually decide to get into a crowdfunding campaign? One. And second, how much budget should you allocate, and or should you take an external help, or should you do everything yourself? So, what's your take on these two parts of the same question?
Okay, let's go one by one on that. For a crowdfunding platform, the list of things which you have to prepare for is a long list. The first is, of course, you have to find out whether your product is good for a crowdfunding platform or not. Typically, hardware products with a consumer-facing angle is what works on such platforms. If you're trying to build a medical device which is for, say, doctors or hospitals, it's a B2B platform, B2B play which has, which is involved there. It's not the best platform for, your product. So first is, of course, you have to find out that fit, whether crowdfunding platforms are fit for your product or not. Second is reach to a prototype stage which you can with your existing set of funds, so that customers can reliably trust you, or trust you that probably this person can build a product. They have already built it to some extent. Further, you might also want to check what is the price point of the product, whether these price points are comfortable for such a product or not, for such an audience or not. So all those things you'll have to do correctly. And these are more or less business parameters, not very typical to crowdfunding platforms. But crowdfunding has, if you wanted to run a crowdfunding platform, the marketing of it has a huge role to play there. How you are presenting that product. I mean, see, most of us who are going to do a crowdfunding platform are possibly, say, or more or less are good with ideas, what we are building, have some customers, have some testimonials saying that, yeah, people would want this device and people have said that we love this. That's why we are going to do a crowdfunding campaign. But once we get there, as an individual, typically we are good product developers or product designers, or, have created some cool hardware product. But we are generally not marketeers, right? Now, that is something which you have to either learn yourself or hire someone in your team to do things in the marketing aspect, or hire another company to do that. And hiring another company to do a crowdfunding campaign is also a tough challenge, because the biggest crowdfunding marketing agencies which help you, go from, say, $100 to $200,000 are supremely busy. And a lot of them will not really care about what your campaign is about, right? They have, hundreds of startups from all over the world are trying to reach out to them. The uniqueness which these guys have with them, as opposed to any other company which you will probably want to work together with for crowdfunding campaigns, is that these guys have a lot of data. These guys have a lot of email IDs, a lot of ways to target the same audiences who have done campaigns in a similar domain before. So it's easier for them to target such people and, have that sales cycle ongoing, or that conversion funnel ongoing in a faster and easier manner. But again, making these companies work for you is also a tough task. So, of course, you'll have to research and talk to them a lot, and, get a deal. And of course, the deals are always negotiable. Never go with the first deal with these guys. Whenever you're trying to get into a crowdfunding campaign, they'll say that, we'll charge whatever percentage of the funds raised, or X percentage, Y percentage. Always try to negotiate. Always try to speak with other clients of these companies. Try to speak to me or someone else who has already done a crowdfunding campaign. The good part is that in India, the hardware community of people who are developing hardware products is a very small sort of a community, and very helpful and responsive community. So feel free to reach out to me or Siddharth on LinkedIn. We could possibly connect you with the right people who could help you manufacture the product, or with the right digital marketing agencies, or even getting the sales channel started for your product beyond the crowdfunding campaign. So try to be a part of that network. You'll learn a lot, similar to what you are probably doing here. Now, considering the crowdfunding marketing companies, typically they would charge a percentage based on what your product is. Could be from 10 to 15% to 30% of your campaign, the amounts you raised on Kickstarter or Indiegogo. and Pick could have some caveats in addition to that as well. So feel, and these guys are from the US, right? Majorly, and these guys will be very say strong and opinionated about what they are going to do, and they have a list of, I mean, they have a set of employees only who are negotiating deals with clients. So it's their work. So don't get bogged down by them. These guys are experts at what they do, and they will tell you that we are, supreme professionals. Don't argue with us and whatever, right? So all those things will happen. It's part of the process. Don't get bogged down by any of these things. Read the agreement carefully. Whatever they're going to give you is, of course, going to be not easy to understand. Always get it vetted by someone in your network. Then once you finalize who you're going to work with, in case you are not doing it yourself, you go ahead and prepare your crowdfunding platform, the crowdfunding page properly, get it tested by potential customers. There are drafts of Kickstarter or Indiegogo pages already prepared. You can share that draft with someone and say that, okay, do you understand the product completely or not? Is the video looking good or not? Of course, the video is one very big important part of your crowdfunding campaign. That's the whole selling point. And typically, you can get an idea of what sort of a campaign or video might work for you based on what has worked for previous customers in the similar domain. Typically, they would start with some intro of the product and then some testimonials, and then the founder would come and talk about it. But sometimes it might work completely differently when the founder is only using the product and talking about it, how is it changing my life and other things like that. So that strategy you have to either, of course, give it to a marketing agency when they can find it out for you, or ideally, actually, you should do it yourself. You should find out who the customer is, what is he or she wanting, and how can I communicate this message very clearly, right? So it should be actually your part and not that marketing company's, because see, your product is your product. You have to understand your customer. You have to understand your messaging. The marketing companies, typically, if they are big, they won't really focus a lot on your work because they have a lot of clients to work with and they won't care. Another part which you should be concerned about is that don't work with marketing companies which are claiming that they are going to spend on ads on your behalf. Don't do that. Always find companies, and of course these companies would take an upfront fee just to have you onboarded in the process. So don't get into that net. Find out companies who are saying that we will take a commission of whatever expenses, whatever work we'll be doing. Say 15% of what is going to be your end goal or whatever you reach, and we'll take 15% of cut of it, right? And you have to spend on advertising. So you have to keep some sort of an advertising budget with you. Typically on Kickstarter, a good product gives out a 5x return. So for example, if you have $20,000 in your pocket, in your company's account for advertising budget, you can expect sales of around 100,000. Right? And of course, you have to factor in the commission which these marketing agencies will also take. And of course, the kind of expenses you will make, the Facebook and Instagram ads, which are majorly all the traffic is driven through Facebook and Instagram only. So that 5x is the number which you should be targeting and plan accordingly, at least the marketing side.
Got it. So I have two questions here. It's a great process for sure. So one, if I'm right, I would just like to first get it confirmed. One is you pay them an upfront fee just for beginning the process. It may be like say X, and then you pay a success fee post your campaign. So basically, if you raise say $30,000 based on whatever Y is negotiated, you give them that Y percentage, so that's done. So that's how it is made, and then plus we have to have some marketing budget for Instagram ads and Facebook ads and others, these kind of ads, and you will be spending those from your page. Am I right in my understanding, or is there any?
No. So the spending is going to happen. You will be giving a Facebook advertising account to these companies, and they will spend on your behalf. They will spend on your card.
Okay, on our card. Okay.
So that's how. Yeah.
Okay. And what about the upfront fee? So how much typically would that be?
So upfront fee actually depends from companies to companies. Uh, it could range from very exorbitant prices to very nominal prices as well. So I can't really share a number here, but always see that you don't pay for anything which is not part of the work. If they are claiming that they are going to do, I don't know. So of course they will want to take up the whole project. They'll say that we'll make a video for you, we'll make the page for you, we'll create an email list for you. Email list is a part of the process which we'll cover later. That's something which you have to prepare for before launching your campaign, about 2 to 3 months before your campaign is live. But going back to this, uh, always look at what they are charging for and what is the exact work they're going to do, and try to understand that from people you know. Okay, don't try to understand that from them. They're of course going to give you a very weird explanation which is not going to be helpful at all. Try to find out what is it they're charging for, and whether it makes sense or not. They will be charging sometimes some just an onboarding fees or something. They'll call it with a specific name which has a very very unknown sort of a name, and you'll figure out what is this, probably some good thing is happening, right? We get swayed away by such weird names, right, when it's too technical. So always always take care of that. So yeah, there's that.
Okay.
But sometimes I think few companies might not also take that upfront fee.
Okay. So you would you recommend any couple of people places where people can go?
I So I would recommend one big marketing company is Gelop. Uh, Quite successful. Uh, Funded today happened to be is also seemingly successful, but it did not work well with us. Uh, then there's I think something called Rain Factory. So there are companies which have come and said that the only way to verify what their work is to talk to their clients. Right? They have a portfolio of what companies they have worked with and all those things. Just try to find them out and try to talk to those creators. Yeah.
Got it. But mostly, predominantly, they are based out of US, and that's how the you need to pay them upfront something, and this could happen. Great. So just to answer Vijay Rajput's question. So first, you'll be preparing for your campaign, and then you'll be looking at uh, probably hiring a marketing agency, or you having a team which can handle everything. And in that, you will be having right from your storyboard to your video to your content ready, and the draft has to be verified, etc. And then you have an email list with you, and all this thing, and then you go live. Am I right, or am I missing something in this?
Right. So sure. So the first thing is that you have a prototype of the product. First, the most important part. Second is you have to make a killer video. Of course, you have to understand the messaging, what you want to give in the video, and then make a killer video. That's the most important part of any campaign or crowdfunding platforms. Third is uh, creating a website or a landing page on your, what we call as a landing page, where people can come and subscribe to your email list, showing interest in your product. So that process itself requires you to run Facebook or Instagram ads and have people who are potentially your target customers land on your page and subscribe. Right? Of course, this subscription, if 100 people are subscribing, the conversion would be 5%, 2%, whatever, eventually for a crowdfunding platform. Of course, depends on the geography of the subscriber also. But typically that is the ratio. So that is the first process you start off with. And you create an email list of, and keep doing this for about 3 months, 2 months before the campaign, and keep them updated that this is how we're going to plan our crowdfunding campaign. We want you to purchase the device on the first day itself, or pre-order the device on the first day itself. That's how the whole process starts. You have to keep priming them and keep updating them about this is the progress happening, this is our current prototype. So they become a part of your story, and that's how the conversion and the success on a crowdfunding platforms, which look like on the first day we raised this much, right? That happens because they have done a lot of work before the crowdfunding campaign. They have a lot of email subscribers. They have a killer video. They have already communicated to these people very well. So that is one very big important part of a crowdfunding platform, the pre-campaign marketing, what they call. And only the few companies will also let you, will tell you that they do that too, and they would also do that. But you can, if you are trying to create your own marketing team, I think this is the best way to uh, test them, your own marketing team, or even your whatever digital marketing team you are hiring, because this is going to tell you how much expense, how much money I'm spending on per ad, and what is my subscription, conversion happening like. And that gives you a fair estimate of how much your customer acquisition cost is going to be during the crowdfunding campaign.
Got it. Got it. And post that, so once you do this, so this is done by generally your team or the marketing that marketing team that you hire, right?
It's your choice, but it's a marketing effort.
Right.
It's
So
more of an advertising effort.
effort. Okay. And this is way before you actually get into the campaign phase. So more of your
So
preparation before you go
two
there.
to 3 months before your campaign, the marketing companies will also be willing to do that. Not a problem.
Problem. Okay. But
But
then
of
you
course,
have to pay
they'll
for
charge
that.
you extra for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And then once you prepare for that, then you get into deal with your marketing company and start going into the platform and do the process, right? So just a clarification. This landing page which you mentioned is your website or is the Kickstarter campaign page?
No, can you please repeat that? I lost you for a second.
Yeah, the landing page that you mentioned, is it your own website or is it the Kickstarter campaign draft page
This
that you
is this is pre-Kickstarter.
pre-Kickstarter? Okay, so all before you
This
enter
is
the
your own website, and the landing page is yours. It has no other communication but the product and the subscription. The call to action should be subscribe to our email ID, email list. That's it. No confusions. And of course, you have to test that landing page, but that's all a marketing effort. Once you get into that, you'll probably learn about that more.
got it, got it. And then you get into this whole cycle of getting inside the campaign and running the campaign, etc. So now what happens during the campaign?
During the campaign is where your heart beats the fastest.
Fastest.
For the first few days, you will find out how is it going, what channel is working, what channel is not working, how is Instagram doing, how is Facebook doing, should we put something on Quora, should we put something on right? So you will be all over the place. And of course, Reddit is also one big channel for crowdfunding platforms or doing a crowdfunding campaign. But typically, marketing companies would not do work on such platforms. That if you want to do that, try doing that yourself. But of course, I'm not sure how well they are converted. But depending on the product, it could be very well as well. Because Reddit has a huge community of people who are on Kickstarter and Indiegogo. So once this starts, you of course send out emails to your subscribers saying that the campaign is about to get launched. Pre-order device, add the initial pre-order price, which is the lowest price which you've always given. And they start increasing those sales. Then of course you send it out to your network, your friends, family, wherever your social media presence is, all the founders, all the teammates, whatever. And eventually then the ads start kicking in, and then you will slowly keep seeing the ads getting converted or not converted. And those strategies along the way should be changing. Which advertising copy is working, which advertising copy is not working. This post of Facebook is not targeted well. It should be probably targeted to women of this age or men of this age and occupation or whatever. So those testing, all those things will keep happening. But that's all a marketing game. Choose that marketing agency wisely. That's more important there. Apart from that, during this time, of course, you have to have a lot of PR contacts prepared. You have to get featured at most of the places, as many places as possible. And since your product is generally new, as we've seen on such platforms, people are willing to write about them for free. So find out these journalists, cold email them, find out them find them out on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, wherever you want, and try to reach out to them, tell them that this is what we built. We would love for you to share something about this. And that's also one way how to increase that traffic on such platform. So what also happens is Kickstarter and Indiegogo both have their own ways to boost the campaign further. So there are a lot of people on Kickstarter and Indiegogo who are just browsing different projects, and based on their likings and dislikings, they would suggest that this is a campaign which you should probably see. And they also have emailers which are also sent to these backers for different campaigns which they might find interesting, right? So having as much traffic as possible on the first 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days on your campaign is going to help you drive that organic traffic through Kickstarter itself. So that's why that visibility becomes important, and that's why that time, the first week, is very crucial. And that's going to drive your whole month of progress, or however long you want to run the campaign for. Because if, say, the articles are written about you at 1, 2, 3, 4 places, the traffic coming in Kickstarter is too much for that campaign. Even if the conversions are not happening, that's still going to boost your rankings, and organic traffic is going to increase, and organic purchasing is also going to increase.
Okay, so in short, this is no less than a product launch that we do. It's an equal effort, I would say.
It's a huge effort. So see, if you talk about the companies, I recently read an article about how much this guy Misfit was a wearable company. And got acquired by Fossil for I think $300 million in 2017. They did a crowdfunding campaign in 2016-15 around just a wristwatch sort of a thing, and they raised some good amount of money. I'm not remembering correctly, but 600,000 maybe, something like that. Their campaign went viral. That person the founder recently disclosed that they spent $20,000 only on the video.
Okay.
$20,000 only on the video and some page design of the product. Now assume how much they have, they must have spent on the marketing or advertising part of it to get to that 600,000. So it's a huge effort. Crowdfunding platforms are not platforms through which you're going to collect your investment from. Crowdfunding platforms are no longer useful as, say, crowdfunding in the most literal sense. It's more of a marketing campaign. It's more like a platform on which new products are being shown, and you can prove that my product is selling well. And that proof itself is going to help you raise the further next rounds and other things like that. So it's preferable to use such platforms like that instead of, say, taking all the money from crowdfunding platforms and starting to get into production directly.
Got it. So now this is while the crowdfunding campaign is on, right? So now in between, let's say if the kind of this thing is going lower, how do you really handle the entire thing to bring it up? Because sometimes it happens that first 3 days it will be good, and then slowly things get fizzled out. But still your campaign is running, and probably you're not achieved your target. So how do you really bring it back up? Any suggestions around that?
So if you have planned correctly, ideally it should not happen. But if it is happening, then what you'll have to do is you have to become a salesperson on yourself, right? You have to try to do as much as you can do personally, and of course try to push that marketing company also, saying that you said this is going to happen, this is not happening. You said this is the X return I'm going to get, this is not happening. Right? To try to fight with them in a way, tell them that, see, this is not happening, this is what we had discussed and this is what we had agreed upon, but this is not working out, right? So they'll find out a few ways. They'll possibly charge you for a few things. And there's always, once your campaign is live on crowdfunding platforms, you will always get inbound inquiries or inbound emails from people all over the world who are claiming to be marketing experts. Okay, they'll tell you X, Y, Z, whatever things they can do to boost your rankings and things like that. They might work. Sometimes they might work. What they typically do is they have some community of people who they'll push the product to because they've been active on crowdfunding platforms for a long time or for whatever reason. Choose them very carefully. Right? Pay them only on performance base if you are trying to do that. And because you are probably at a stage where you are probably cautious and are afraid of what's going to happen with my campaign. I have not reached my goal yet. you might have to experiment on those lines. But always, whoever is asking you for money for marketing such things, whatever, always pay them on a performance basis.
Performance basis. Great. So now this is during the campaign. So post campaign, what do you do next?
Post campaign is you thank all the backers, assuming you have completed your goal. You thank all your backers. You tell them what the plan is. That update can be public or private, only for backers only. And see, the backers are the most important part of your journey. I mean, these guys, majorly from the US, are supremely helpful. These guys love your product, firstly. Secondly, these guys are supportive of what you are doing. They are supportive of the challenges you've been facing. They will not, typically, if you are, if you are a bad communicator or if you are a scam, of course you'll get all sort of comments on your platforms. But generally, these guys are supremely helpful. They are very understanding. They are willing to wait for a long time. They are the first set of people who are giving the feedback about the product properly, because these are your paying customers, right? So the inputs which they are giving, if you can incorporate them during the design process, further in the DSM or production process, that would be great. Because these guys are going to drive that trend. And of course, these guys also share about your campaign further, right? These guys can themselves create a whole new wave. Coming back to one thing which you can also do pre-campaign, pre-launch, there are platforms called as, I'm forgetting the exact name of what that technology is called, but there are some referral-based platforms like Kickbooster, wherein people get incentives or discounts based on, or cashbacks based on their referrals being converted. Right? So pre-launch, you can explore those platforms as well.
Right.
So that's always useful. And you can actually even start these things when you are in the campaign, and you thought that you were thinking that probably this is not working out. Let's find out different ways to do it. So yeah, that's how that works. Then post campaign, of course, just keep thanking your backers, tell them what the plan is, and this is the timeline for your product to reach you. And yeah, plan properly. That's all. That's all they care about.
So this is assuming that the fund worked out. But let's say we fail, then what happens? So what are the repercussions of it?
The biggest repercussion is if you have an agreement with a marketing company and they are charging you for whatever amount, and in your contract it's mentioned that we are going to charge an amount because we have worked for that, right? And it is right? If your goal was not reached, it was probably not their mistake, probably, right? And they have put their effort, so they must be paid. So they might still want to take, suppose your campaign goal was 100,000 and you were able to get 40,000 or 50,000. And these guys are going to still charge you for that. And you'll have to be prepared for that.
Right.
Right? So yeah, that's the worst which could happen. Otherwise, of course, there's no problem. You just spent money, you wasted money, you missed an opportunity.
Got it. But then
it's always, there's one important thing here. If you think your campaign is not going well, it's always advisable to, if you of course believe that your product is completely brilliant and thing which is wrong with my preparation, it's always advisable to say retract that campaign or cancel that campaign while it's live.
Okay.
Because then you get another opportunity to be on the same platform with the right preparation. If you think that you can do that at a later date.
Right. But what happens with the marketing company? They agree to it that okay, we'll work on it in the next campaign.
Depends on the kind of relationship you have with them.
Okay.
They are sometimes okay, sometimes they might be not.
It all depends on.
And depends on what is the status also, right? If they've already put in a lot of effort, they would probably not agree with that. If it's a 1 week thing which they've done for you and they see that their returns are not coming and the target audience is not converting well, not scaling well, then they might also suggest you that this is probably not working and let's do something else.
Got it. Great. So now, so what are now? For example, let's say campaign went well. However, somehow for some reason, like COVID or some case, like in your how it happened in your case, where COVID actually pushed your development, and thereby you may not be able to fulfill the timelines. So what happens in those cases? Do you have to give back the money, or can you ask some more time with the people, or is it a hybrid? What happens?
The best part about crowdfunding platforms is that there is no, say, a legal agreement or a contract with these Kickstarter-like platforms wherein you have to deliver it within that time. These are these are websites or platforms on which creative projects are supported, and your the pre-order, the advance amount which you take is meant to be used for product development or for the plan which you have proposed. If you are not doing that, there is an agreement not with the platform, but you have an agreement directly when you are agreeing to terms and conditions on the Kickstarter platform. The agreement is between you and the backer, you as in the company and the backer, and that is what you have to honor. Otherwise, what they can do is, in the worst case, what happens is if you are, they can sue you anytime, and based on whatever they feel is wrong, and you can, and you would be found guilty only if you are using those funds for something else entirely. And you're not using those funds for production or anything else, or it's say not part of the plan. But if you are using that product for the plan, for the product itself, and you are making mistakes there, or you are, for some reason not able to deliver things, some reason your production fails, your funds get lost, or it's just low funds, and your plan was probably not right from the beginning, then it's not a case. So they can't, do anything to you. They've lost money. So that is one, say, good part and the bad part as well.
Right.
Right. There is no legal foundation on the company, but you have to use those funds properly. But because see, if you lose this, it's a brand image for you then.
Right.
You can't really compete on a global scale after that, right? Because people know that this company, this person is not as reliable, and it's a public platform.
Right.
And that's always going to be remaining on your whatever profile.
Correct.
Right? So that's why you would not want to do that.
Right.
In addition to, of course, not getting sued.
Okay. And just because we are onto that now, for example, there are this Indian laws, which becomes little complicated, like FEMA and other things that are around. And so, how do you really tackle these laws, and how do you really go about and still be very safe and on the right side of the law and not making any mistake?
Okay. So all the things which I'm telling you here are advices. You should always consult your legal, whatever help, legal advisors or your CAs to get things done properly before starting off with things. That's just a fair warning. Now, when you're talking about getting these funds from another country to India, or from another country to another country, a third country where your production process is happening, you have to be very careful of how those transactions are happening. And a chartered accountant or CPA, as they call it there, they always have to be involved in those transactions, at least in the beginning. You have to have one, say, either a lawyer who's done this before or a CA who's done this before, who understands these transactions. There are a lot of issues with that. Issues as in there are a lot of jargon which you see about transfer pricing, about, whatever, right? Foreign transactions have very weird set of jargons. And RBI rules are also very, very, very strict and annoying. And, it just becomes very difficult to work with them. But that's why it's always advisable to have a CA onboarded with you, saying that we are possibly, so for example, just give you an example. If you have an R&D team here and you want to use that money raised on Kickstarter to fund some operations here, you possibly, one thing you can do is charge that US company, if you have a US entity, we haven't probably reached there yet. But if you are running a campaign from a US entity, which is again a subsidiary of yours or your own partner company, through which you've done the crowdfunding campaign, you charge that company some X amount, saying that we will be delivering you these products, and this is the R&D cost for that. And that R&D cost should be a suitable R&D cost. So it should be reasonable. It should not be that you've taken the whole $100,000 here. It has to be substantially, say, reasonable, and you have to find documents to make it reasonable as well. Otherwise, you will have issues getting those transfers from a different country to this country.
Right.
And both the players from India as well, from US as well, both the places you might find trouble. The banks sometimes will not let you create that transaction at all, and you'll have to keep explaining to them, and probably might have to travel to the US, which is again a huge expense.
Right.
It's always advisable to have those CPOs involved in that.
Correct. Now, let's say, for example, you don't have an US entity. Then what happens? I guess when let's say Kickstarter or Indiegogo transfers it to your Indian account, still the FEMA Act gets into picture. And how will you answer them?
I'm not sure about getting it transferred directly to your Indian account, because at the time when I was exploring Indiegogo, I don't think this was an option.
Okay, so
I'm not sure.
Way back in 2013-14, when I had my crowdfunding campaign, it was feasible. Of course, mine was a failed campaign, and we got the money in Indian account.
Oh, is it? So then they must have changed that after that. Sometime.
Yeah, I'm talking about 2013, 2014. It's a long time back.
Yeah.
Right.
That time was probably the initial stage of Indiegogo also.
Yeah. So we got the money in Indian account, but however, we were called by the bank manager, and we had to do a lot of declaration for few thousand rupees that we had raised. So there were a lot of other complications around it, and it was quite new to really work it out. So yeah, but probably now the laws must have changed, or rules must have changed. So we need to explore.
The laws have changed. The rules have. The laws or rules might not have changed, but these platforms adapt. Adapt. Right. So these platforms would have their rules changed. They'd say that no, we will not try direct transfer to this country if your bank account is from here. So that you'll have to check. Typically, I've seen companies who are not, which are companies which are from countries like India or any other a few other South Asian countries. They are not applicable for Kickstarter or Indiegogo directly. They have to find another company or start another company in these a few different geographies: Singapore, Hong Kong, US, UK, somewhere, and then start that crowdfunding campaign.
Got it. So probably that we'll take some other day that discussion on how do you have a subsidiary company probably in a US or a Singapore, but yeah, not for today's discussion for sure. Otherwise, it'll be like I don't know, another one now. So now, Apur, before we kind of conclude, there are a couple of questions. Let's see if we have answered them, or if not, let's try to answer them. So one was the typical procedure for crowdfunding. I guess we have answered that. Second is from Sudha Gandhi asking how much money should we have for launching a campaign in Kickstarter. So you've given that at least have
5x.
Yeah, 5x.
1/5 you have to have.
So if you are targeting, let's say, a 1 lakh raise, you should at least have 20,000 as your marketing budget. Or if you're lesser, then accordingly you can do this thing. And another question from Sudeep.
Again, that is not a rule. That is the advisable amount which you should have.
Yeah. Sometimes if you're lucky, you may just invest 1,000 rupees and you may get $100,000, but it's luck.
And if you are unlucky, you might get zero.
Exactly. So yeah, we cannot see what happens over there.
Right.
And then there is a question from Sudeep Kulkarni who asks, will Kickstarter support social cause based business or product? Any importance for the story behind the product? So do you want to answer that?
I'm not sure if Kickstarter does social things. I don't think it does. But there are some art-based projects which people get funded for on Kickstarter. So that you'll have to explore. I'm not very sure of that.
Very sure of that. And the second part of the question, any importance for the story behind the product? Is there any in your campaign? Do you need to look at it?
Depends on the product. See, every product will have a different selling point. So ours was a more futuristic, cool sort of a gadget. So we had a Apple-like video which launches a new thing altogether, what all it does and all those things, right? If you have a product which solves a very specific problem which a person might have, and founder itself himself might probably have faced the same problem, and if he's sharing his life story of how we have started building this device and what does it really do for you, that might work better for you.
Right.
So that messaging is very important for. You have to research on that messaging. What works best for your sort of a product?
Got it.
There is no straight answer.
Right.
But the one rule which any marketing company will also tell you is the founders should be in the video.
Oh, should be in the video. Okay.
At least some part of it there should be, the founder should be there.
Got it. So now one more last question that was there in the YouTube chat at least was again from Vijay asking how much time it took for your team for preparation before launching the campaign.
Okay. So see, the campaign launch always gets delayed, almost always. The first shoot of the movie we did was actually in December 2018, the first part. I think I still was at college at that time, doing something and shot a few things there. So
I remember you coming in a Mercedes
yes,
to,
yes,
to
yes.
open it. Yeah.
Yeah. So we did that. We were thinking that we'd be able to, close these things as soon as possible, and then the prototype, all those things, right? But we disregarded the kind of preparation that's required for doing a crowdfunding campaign, and of course, there are a lot of other things which could go wrong. Your prototype is not working properly. Your prototype is not as advanced as you would want it to be in that crowdfunding campaign, which is one very big important aspect of a crowdfunding campaign. People have to trust you, and for that trust, you have to show that prototype video at least in some part of that campaign, your page design, because that's all which is going to matter. Right? Because see, people can show renderings and videos of whatever they want, but that prototype is what proves that you have done something and you are capable of building something. So yeah, mostly that. How much time it took, I'd say, see, you have to estimate at least 6 months.
6 months of
At least 6
preparation
months.
time. Yeah.
But there are a lot of things which could go wrong. I said our product initially, the prototype, the PCB which had come after a lot of iterations did not work. Then we had to rework on that. That itself took a long time. So you should ideally not be hiring a lot of marketing resources before your product is completely ready. Because hardware is, in any hardware product journey, if there's an app involved, a software involved, or whatever it's involved, marketing, whatever the business things are involved, always first focus on the hardware, because hardware is going to take the longest time. Because there are a lot of third parties involved, manufacturer, PCB design guy, whatever, right? If you're with an electronic product. So get the product ready first, have that confidence that your prototype is working. After that, try and hiring resources or, these agreements with marketing companies.
Got it.
Give yourself at least a 6-month window
6 month
before properly preparing this.
And
Also, these 2 to 3 month window should be, prepared for that email list.
yeah. So and it's always better to delay rather than haphazard going ahead with the campaign, because a lot of money is also involved in this entire process. So it's always better to be very cautious and be confident before we actually go into the campaign. That's what I would also recommend, and I believe Apur tells the same thing. So Apur, would you like to make a concluding statement or something? Because I guess we have overshot the time by a couple of minutes. Would you like to just give some advices to people on what should they think before taking a decision on crowdfunding, and some kind of warnings as well, so that people are aware how to go about it?
So first thing is keep watching such webinars. Keep trying to find people in your network who have done this before. They are going to give you advices which you don't want to repeat their mistakes. That's the most important part. And hardware, as I earlier mentioned, is a small community of people in India. People who have developed hardware have faced multiple challenges. It's not similar to what an app or software is like. There are a lot of third parties involved which are not verified. It's always, and there are some challenges which you just won't see going forward, including in the crowdfunding campaign journey. So I'd say keep that network open. Try to find such people. Try to find out products, hardware products from India, which have come up on such platforms or who have delivered such things, who haven't delivered such things, are doing something else right now. But keep your network open, or just grow your network in this hardware ecosystem, because these people are supremely helpful in this network.
Right, right. And on this, on that same lines, and yeah, that is true. That's one correct thing, that keep talking about your product to at least like-minded people, so that you
Yeah,
don't commit the same mistake. And trust me, we all have gone through those mistakes, and we know exactly how it ends up. So it's always better to be careful in that. And in
right.
fact, to be frank, we have decided that, at least in my startup of Xfinito, we have decided that we are taking crowdfunding route. And that's the reason why I keep bugging you all the time. And at least Apurva and me ourselves had called at least couple of times now to just see what is what and how to go about it. So, and it's
Yeah,
always like, reach out to people, they'll surely help you at least a bit, whatever time they have, they will help you. So that's very
right,
important, communication. So thanks, Apur,
right.
a lot for this time. If any other questions come in, I would surely send it to you, so that probably you could answer them later. But it was nice having you, and thanks to take out a time on Sunday, and being with us here and sharing your knowledge about crowdfunding. Thank you.
Pleasure being here, Siddharth. Thank you so much. Good luck with your campaign.